Randy, we've got a problem.
What?
They go.
Reality's here. He's trying to crash the party. Reality? Who let him in?
You're sad that people are mean? Well, I'm sorry. The world isn't one big liberal arts college campus.
I don't have an agenda. Like, I want people to do something. I need them to do something. I want them to avoid irrationality.
I guess what interests me is just like what interests everybody else. It's just sort of what feels real.
That was totally wicked!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Real News in the Morning. Yeah, it's 9:18 Central Time, 10:18 Eastern Time. My name is Mr. Henry, running a little bit late in life, a little bit late this morning. It's been a long time coming since we've been back live doing this in your faces. I appreciate you for being here this morning. Again, as I said, my name is Mr. Henry. David Shine Thompson joining us over there. Zig may or may not be coming through this morning. We're going to have to figure that out here in just a little bit. We'll see. The Zig, man, you never really know. Stuff's going wild in Pennsylvania right now. They had that snowstorm come through. There's some election fraud that may or may not be happening. Who knows what's going on in Pennsylvania, man. But how's everyone going? Thank you so much for joining us again for another morning edition of Real News. Here's what we do on this program entitled Real News. If you have just joined us, we make real friends here. We live real life with each other. We do real things with each other in a real digital space. I say that all the time, but I think it's vitally important we stress this one more time right now. What we try and do in this program is create a scenario by which we can have calm, cordial dialogue, an exchange of ideas, possibly even disagreements with one another. And through those disagreements, we believe that human beings are anti-fragile, meaning it is in spite of a fragile state. It is through trial and turmoil that we are growing and strengthening one another. We look forward to those debates and those trials and those struggles because that's how you grow and progress as a human being and as a species and as community collectively together by holding each other accountable as iron sharpens iron. That's why we say what we say in this program. We look forward to that. It's been happening with myself and a guy named Judson Hall. I want to give a shout out to that person. If he ever watches this program, I've been having fantastic debates with this guy all over our comment section from some of the stuff we've been posting. Awesome. It's been livening up my day. So how's everybody doing, by the way? Before we get to a little bit of bringing up the speed as to why we've been off for the last week or so, let's kick it over to our boy, David Shine Thompson. He's out there in East Tennessee way. Hey, buddy, how you been, man? Everything good on your end? I know you got some family stuff going on right now as well, but how you hanging in?
Dude, I got coffee, doing real news. Everything's great, bro. Happy to be here.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man. Ready? Dude, it's the week. I mean, am I wrong here? Let me get check. It's the week of Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh,
Christmas
my goodness.
week.
Hark the heralds.
Angels sing.
Get the Yule log. I don't even have a fireplace, but if I did, I'd be Yule logging it. You know?
That's what I'm. It's the Yule log season.
That's right, man. Get that Yule going.
Get your Yule going.
I got my Yule. I got my wassail. You know, it's all good. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hey, by the way,
I'm just going to say it all week. I don't care. Christmas is back.
Yeah, man. It's Christmas week, dude. Just live it up right. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, if you have just joined us, by the way, here's the Real News Fake News if you're playing live on Facebook. If not, catch us on YouTube, Twitch. We're streaming on a couple other platforms there. realnewsradio.live. That's the central landing page for all real news related things. If you are joining right now, you see the little live tab. Yes, this is live. All right. At the bottom of the Facebook screen, though, you'll see Real News Fake News for today. Here's how this game is played. It's exactly like it sounds. We read a headline. You click on the bottom. Tell me whether that's a real headline or a fake headline. Meaning, does it come from an actual news source like a CNN or a Fox News, or at least somebody that purports to be an actual news source? Or is it something that's fake by way of a Babylon Bee satire headline? Or did I just make it up? Because that happens from time to time. Here's a Real News Fake News headline for today. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen. I'm also just going to do a little share here, just so we can show y'all what the headline for today might actually be. Here we go. Here's the headline. You see it on your screens right now. Here it is. Report: LeBron James to be appointed as ambassador to China. I took this screenshot last night. Tell me this is real or fake. Looks like our boy is actually, Zig is in the weight room, as everyone can see right now. We'll just go ahead and admit him here in just a second. Here. Is this a real headline or a fake headline? Report LeBron James to be appointed as ambassador to China. That is the real news, fake news headline for today. If you're playing live on Facebook, click at the bottom. Is that a real CNN headline or a fake CNN headline? Oh, my goodness, man. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, before we get to Zig here real quick, greatest audience in the nation appreciation segment. It's been a while since we've done this, but what are you struggling with? Where are you at in life? How's your family doing? Is everybody healthy? You got any sick folks? You got any folks that are struggling with COVID? Do you need prayer concerns with anything? You need a hot meal dropped off on your front doorstep? Do you need this community to pour out, to come out in droves, as we can do, and try and help you out right now? We're trying to live life with each other. Do you need some help with that right now? Put it in the comment section. Tell us what you need help with. Tell us what you're excited about. Tell us what philosophy you're into, what books you're reading, what articles you're going through, any of that stuff right now, or reach out to us personally. And before we get moving on too much here, though, because I want to bring everyone up to speed as to where we've been, what I've been about, why we've been gone for the last week. Zig, buddy, just saw you hopped in with us. How you doing this morning, man? I'm catching him a little bit off guard here because he just joined in, but how's it going, buddy?
No, it's not off guard, man. Just making sure to get some coffee, get my mind percolated and ready for real news.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Zig's joining us from Pennsylvania. All right, let's dive right into this program today. You'll see the title of the show is, can we talk about China? Seriously? I mean, it's about time we talk about China. I'm going to start talking about China by really introducing the topic of COVID. All right, and I want to start here by obviously just letting everyone know, I'm sure everyone saw the post. The reason why we've been out so long over the last week here or so is I actually tested positive for COVID last Monday. My wife had it as well. One of my primary concerns about the whole COVID situation was her. I mean, I didn't necessarily know if I was going to struggle with that all that much, but she has, asthma, however slight it might be. But I was worried about that pre-existing condition, if that is such a called thing as but whatever, for COVID people, it's, if you have asthma, they say it could be extremely problematic. I was worried about her. I was worried about how it might hit her, but she did fantastic. If you can say such a thing about COVID, she did much better than I did. It was probably 2 days of mild symptoms, and she was pretty much done with that thing. Now, mine knocked me out for the better part of a week. The actual symptoms themselves were, again, somewhat mild in nature, but it was the fatigue more than anything. I was joking around with people like someone stole my battery charger, man. Like I've just been without it. Today is the first day in about a week that I woke up and felt already at 10 or 20%. Like that's basically what it did to me. Is every single morning I would wake up, if I didn't have some actual symptom going on with either headaches or severe congestion or something like that, the biggest part was just the body fatigue of waking up. And immediately after you wake up, you're like, oh, I got nothing left for today. I'm waking up at 10%. Now, again, I'm 35 years old. I'm in relatively decent health and decent shape. I just dropped about 25 pounds over the last 3 or 4 months. I've been trying to get in shape for some of this stuff. And at the same time, we consulted a multitude of different physicians that had us on a regimen of, different things that we were taking. Some of the stuff I was taking well before the COVID actually hit me. Obviously, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, all this stuff that they tell you to take. We were on quercetin, colostrum, colloidal silver. My wife had me taking as well. I mean, there was like a myriad of
silver's
things.
So good.
Yeah,
it is. It's really good.
Yeah. I didn't know about most of this stuff, man. A lot of it's just, I don't know, supplement stuff that you can get over the counter. It's just, I don't know. It's just vitamin related supplement
elderberry
stuff, right?
gummies. Those are really good too. They taste like candy. They're really good.
Yeah.
And they're really good for you.
I've heard great things about elderberry. Well, this COVID conversation, obviously I wanted to bring people up to speed with, like, first of all, thanks for all the shout outs. Thanks for all the praise. Thanks for the praise is a bad word, but prayers is what I meant to say, for just keeping us in your mind and everything. I want to say too, without exposing anybody else on the show, look, man, I know a lot of people's families members are going through stuff and that watch this program. Just not just stay safe out there, but just reach out to people if you need to. Keep people in your mind, keep people in prayers. You never really know what somebody else is going through. And just make sure that you're ever conscious and concerned of what people might be going through and how this whole thing might be affecting everyone. I say that because apparently right now, Tennessee is the worst place in the nation to be in regards to COVID. And we had Governor Lee issue Executive Order 70. Now, this is going to be main topic of today. And listen, can we talk about China is the title of this program this morning. And we are going to talk about China in the way that no one is talking about China anymore. Because I'm personally a little bit fed up with its entire country, man. I'm done it. I'm over it. I'm a little bit tired of the fact that we have to keep having this conversation about COVID-related things that has absolutely destroyed this country for the past year. And we keep wanting to cite blame back to somebody other than ourselves. And we keep wanting to cite blame to Democrats or cite blame back to Republicans or somebody that got it wrong or somebody that potentially got it right. Let's be completely real. The only person that was in front of this stuff in the entire country was Tom Cotton, of all people. And nobody's going to give him the credit that he deserves. So let's just put all this to bed for a second. I'm a little bit tired of not holding the country of China accountable. If you guys want to know where I'm getting some of this from, if you want to see a great breakdown of this stuff, go look into Tim Pool's IRL podcast in the last 2 days. He had 2 incredible guests on.
Oh, they were incredible, dude. They were so good. I'm so glad you saw those live shows. Those were some of the best ones he's ever done.
Right. It was 2 days ago that he had this thing. Is his IRL podcast. And it talks a little bit about some of this stuff. Not just have we forgotten about China, but can we draw a light on how problematic that country is in every aspect of the word? Not least of which is the creation and epicenter of not just coronavirus. We're talking SARS before that. We're talking MERS before that. We're talking, maybe not MERS, sorry, but at least SARS before that. We're talking bird flu before that. I don't know, man. A lot of it's coming from these wet markets. Now, eventually I'm going to get to that, but let me pull back for a second because part of what we need to address this morning is Governor Lee's address from last night. And he issued Executive Order 70. Sean, I can just go ahead and play this on my end unless you want to pull up that YouTube clip from your end. It doesn't really matter either way. It's under the local stories section. It's the second tab down.
Do you want me to play the whole video or?
Yeah, but it's only 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So we'll play through that if you get that pulled up. I actually figured out how to screen record on my phone, so now we can just grab whatever we want to, throw it on the Real News YouTube page, and it's much easier for everyone to get those clips later on.
I got it ready to go.
Yeah, go ahead and start that from the beginning there for us, man. We'll just work our way through this. Here's the Governor Lee from last night addressing, I guess, the idea that Tennessee is the worst place to be in the nation when it comes to COVID sickness.
Good evening, Tennesseans. It's Christmas week. Ordinarily a time when families across the state are gathering to celebrate. Unfortunately, these are not ordinary times. We are in a global pandemic that's been crippling our country for months. And now, Tennessee is ground zero for a surge in sickness. I'm speaking with you tonight because I want to be clear with where we are and what we need to do together to get through this. We now have around 10,000 Tennesseans getting sick every day. To put that in perspective, that's 3 times where we were around Halloween. Thousands of our neighbors are in the hospital tonight. More than 100 people are dying each day. We are in a war. With the arrivals of the first vaccine, we've launched an offensive that will end this war. But it's the next few weeks that's going to be the most critical for our state. We've seen firsthand that Thanksgiving gatherings and extended time indoors have been the principal driver in spreading COVID-19 like wildfire. It only took a matter of days to see gatherings around Thanksgiving translate into a record level of sickness. Tennessee cannot sustain a similar surge after Christmas or New Year's. So tonight, I'm asking you to make some hard decisions. I'm asking you to not engage in indoor gatherings for the holidays that include anyone outside your household. Family time and celebrations are important, and I understand deeply how much Tennessee families need each other. But we must do all that we can to blunt this surge and keep more Tennesseans from getting sick. But beyond family gatherings and what I'm asking you to do in your own home, we need to address public gatherings through these important weeks as well. I'm signing an order that will limit indoor public gatherings to 10 people. I believe high school sports are an important part of our kids' lives, and they should continue. But in coordination with the TSSAA, we are limiting attendance at indoor sporting events. We know that it's gatherings that have caused this surge, and that's why we're making these decisions around gatherings that will help us blunt the rise in cases. Additionally, I'm asking business owners to let employees work from home for the next 30 days. If work from home is not available, masks should be worn at work, plain and simple. I want to talk about the importance of wearing masks around people who don't live in your home. Right now, 70% of Tennesseans are under a mask requirement, and I commend the local officials who've implemented mask requirements. Because of that, 80% of Tennesseans report that they wear their masks most or all of the time, and I thank them for doing this. We need them to continue, and the remaining 20% to wear a mask and protect their health. Many think a statewide mandate would improve mask wearing.
He goes on for a couple more minutes, and some of that's important. I mean, go check out the clip. It's linked in the show notes if you want to see it. By the way, every single morning, if you want to see the show notes for yourself, just click on the video description, whether it's in YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, doesn't matter. You'll see a little Evernote link there. Click on the Evernote link. You can follow along with us exactly where we are. Just for the sake of time, because Shine and Zig and I actually have to be off directly at the top of the hour, rather. We have a meeting we have to get to ourselves. I want to fast forward through some of the stuff that he's saying just so we can give our commentary on it. But I at least wanted to get to that part where he said that apparently, allegedly, reportedly, 80% of Tennesseans are currently wearing masks. Now, I presume that's in public most of the time, he said. Now, I think the major problem that Governor Lee is having here is that it seems like the primary component of our transmission rate is not coming from people that are not wearing their masks in public. I'll get to that in a second. But the grand overarching theme that I want to address here, I think Governor Lee just missed the mark totally last night, completely. And he had such a fantastic opportunity to do it properly. He completely and utterly missed the mark.
Everybody was watching, man. Everybody, because they thought he was going to do a mask mandate, everybody was watching.
Well, and it's interesting because he seemingly took this middle-of-the-road approach where he just frustrated both people on each side because everybody's already so polarly divided on all of this. The only real way you were going to get to the attention of Tennesseans is to approach the people directly. Now, I'm bearing the lead a little bit here of what my thoughts are on this. I don't want to get too much into the commentary before we actually go through what was said. He started off by saying, obviously, Tennessee is ground zero for a surge in sickness. Now, what he's talking about is the myriad of headlines of which I'm sure you've all seen over the last couple of weeks here. WATE is the most recent one that I'm looking at. Just the headline here says, Tennessee leads the country in new daily COVID-19 cases per capita in this last week.
Yeah, I'd say that's an important additive there, per capita. Yeah. Because we're definitely not the most cases, but it's per capita.
No. But per capita, Tennessee apparently is like ground zero. So when he says ground zero, that's what he's talking about. And that's just one of a number of studies. He went on to say, I'm asking you not to engage in indoor gatherings during the holidays. These are direct quotes from the thing you just listened to. I'm asking you not to engage in indoor gatherings during the holidays that include anyone from your outside household. Now, again, that was specifically using his words. He says, I'm asking you. It's not like some government mandate, but people did feel like they were being preached at here, which is part of the problem. Using the power and the auspices of the governorship itself, of the I don't know, of the
what do
power
they call
of
that? They call it the bully pulpit, right? They felt bullied.
Bully pulpit. He's got this this bokeh image behind him of this 15-foot Christmas tree, and
I thought Dolly Parton was going to jump out. I thought Dolly Parton and Kenny Loggins would be like, yeah, y'all should wear masks.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all.
That would have made it much better. That would have made it better, man.
That would have been hilarious if he just be like, good evening, Tennessee. And now, Dolly Parton. And then he's like, and by the way, wear a mask. No gatherings. All right. Good night, everybody. It would have been a fantastic show.
It would have, man. If you heard a 6-string strum with now Dolly Parton here. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been that bad. Now, he did go on to say that.
When are people going to start paying me to handle tense moments? I can do this. Governor Lee, I'm available.
He said, I'm signing an order that will limit indoor public gatherings to 10 people. We're limiting attendance at indoor sporting events, he says. And he says, I'm asking business owners to let employees work from home for the next 30 days. Employees that can't work from home should wear masks. Now, we actually also have linked in the show notes the exact executive order itself. And importantly, that executive order does say that these public gatherings that are limited to 10 people or less, I don't quite know what that means for restaurants yet. Our Republican leadership in the state seems to think that it is not going to be applicable to restaurants. I don't know how you get around that. It doesn't necessarily matter. I do know that there's a provision carved out where there are exceptions for places of worship, weddings, and funerals, meaning if you want to go to a church or have a wedding or have a funeral with more than 10 people, this executive order does not apply to you, meaning you can still do those things, right? He went on to say that, again, 70% of Tennesseans are currently under a mask requirement. I actually didn't realize that. I thought it would have been far fewer than that. But there you go. Shows what I know, right? Said apparently Governor Lee also says that 80% of Tennesseans report that they are currently wearing their mask. He basically says that in the end, the part that I didn't play, he says, don't get confused about this directive. He's still trying to let local governments solve this issue for their people to the best of his ability. I think the picture for Governor Lee was supposed to be something to the extent of, hey, look, we're the worst place in the country to be right now as far as it pertains to per capita COVID transmission rates. So what do you want me to do about it? I have to do something. Well, kind of, sort of. But the thing you have to do, I would have advised you differently. Just to finish out the last things he says, he goes on to go over a list of things that Tennessee has done and is trying to do to be responsible to respond to this crisis. He talks about vaccines for frontline workers. Moderna vaccine is being delivered today. Pfizer's already been delivered. COVID-specific nursing homes, mobilizing Tennessee National Guard to help in hospitals, all these different things that can be done. Now, here's what I would say, and then I want to get the response from Zig and Shine and anybody else. And Zig, I guess you listen to that same thing, just gives your uptake on what you think is going on in Tennessee and how to best approach this thing. But my solution to this would not have been what Governor Lee did. I really want to get what the Real News audience feels from this. I think he missed the mark massively on this. A better approach would have been to address the people directly. Screw the cue cards, Governor Lee. Screw the perfectly flocked banister and the 15-foot Christmas tree with the studio-level bokeh effect behind you, okay? Screw even giving the appearance of authority. Screw all that. You need to come from a place of genuine appeal. Speak as a Tennessean, pleading with other Tennesseans to make the best decision for their fellow men. Plead with volunteers from the volunteer state to make some personal sacrifices, because Lee, you should know. You either had to know or you should know now that if you use the power of government in any sense, even just the sniff, the smell, the waft of it, even if it just looks or resembles anything like the power of government or that bully pulpit, that it's only going to produce the exact opposite effect of what you desire. If it really is true that 80% of people are wearing masks in public right now, it's highly likely 80% of people are wearing masks in public right now. It's highly likely that most of these cases are coming from private, personal, indoor settings. They're coming from non-public places. They're coming from areas where you, Governor Lee, will never, ever be able to regulate, whether because of some ideological line you've drawn in the sand or because Tennesseans won't be able to stand for it. Exactly. Or practically.
You ain't coming to my house.
Yeah, you ain't coming to my house. And if you tell them that you are coming in your house, they're going to do it just because you told them not to. In that case, then Lee needs to come at Tennesseans from a place where they will listen, address them personally, ask them for help. Do not threaten with government intervention. Convince them that Tennessee government is not going to overreach, that you're not merely using the power of this platform to threaten, that you're using the power of this platform to get a message across to Tennessean, to beg and plead with them, saying, listen, I'm not going to force y'all to do something. All right, I'm not your caretaker. This is the volunteer state. This is where liberty looms large. This is where we have a super majority conservative in both houses. This is where conservatism is. This is the third highest Trump supporting state in the nation. Y'all can take care of yourself. I get that. So it's time to start helping your fellow man, because I'm not going to force you to do it. Because if I do force you to do it, it's not that you're not going to listen to me. You're going to feel like I'm patronizing you. You're going to feel like I'm belittling you and I'm talking down to you. And a lot of y'all out there are not going to make reasonable decisions because I'm the one that's forcing you to do it. When Governor Lee came out there and said that a vaccine is not going to help people from making, what did he say, like irrational decisions against self-responsibility or against selfish decisions or something like that. I don't know. But you get where I'm coming from. The tack that Lee should have taken was to approach Tennesseans as another Tennessean, to ask for their help, to plead with them as a fellow man, to say, hey, listen,
as an equal.
Don't put this nonsense behind you, bro. I know it looked nice and you had everything completely cue card written out and that it was very well delivered and it was articulate and it was impassionate. I get you, man. You may have even went to some class beforehand to figure out how to emote properly on screen. I understand that. But what Tennesseans needed from you last night is to drop the governor guard and garb, because people are hearing that through the filter of the governorship. That's not what they needed last night. They needed a true, genuine leader that was vulnerable. And I don't want to go here, man, but his wife just got this right before this address. That version of Governor Lee is what we need to see. That version of Governor Lee, who is now also personally struggling with this in a very personal way. That's the one that should have spoken to the Tennessee people last night. Not the governor, Bill Lee. We need to hear from Bill Lee, not Governor Lee. The governor part is what's dissuading so many people from following any sense of, I don't know, man, whatever. Because it's not about that anymore. It's not about force and coercion. Now, I'll pull back him here a little bit, all right? I want to get some take from Zig and Shine. And to be fair, I did say this before. Lee didn't, about as much as I suppose he could do, if you want to talk about this, about not putting any further restrictions or regulations on, all right? At least that from our Republican leadership in the state, Speaker Sexton and Andy Holt and a few others, I have those linked in the show notes if you want to look at them. They all seemingly agree that he didn't do much by way of restrictions. He still has that line of liberty that he won't go past and so on and so forth, whatever else. It's just the ultimate problem I found with all of this is this middle of the road approach. I mean, goodness, man. Did Washington not tell all of us this? If you try and please everyone, you're going to inevitably please no one. This middle of the road approach, it's never going to be totally satisfying to either side. Hardline conservatives are upset that Governor Lee is further encroaching upon their civil liberties, while liberals are calling him homicidal. So you're not going to win either way with this approach, Lee. Just drop the facade and speak to us as a human being. Let me kick it to Shine first, man. Am I off here? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, am I missing something? We'll get Zig's take, and I'll hit some Facebook comments, too.
Well, we'll say, like, because of the circumstances that you laid out, I do agree that no matter how he handled it, there were going to be people who were upset, right? I mean, that much is clear. But let me just tell you how because you're kind of doing like a 30,000 feet. This is how kind of I perceive everyone took it. And you're talking about legislators and their reactions. I'll just give you like my personal take. I got a call around 4:00 yesterday afternoon that said Governor Lee's going to do a mask mandate video in like 2 hours. So that was like me preloaded. So someone basically said there's going to be a mask mandate. He's going to announce it in 2 hours. So when I watched the video, and there was no mandate, I was like, all right, go Bill Lee. I mean, and maybe it's because that was my, like, I thought there was going to be a mandate. So, like, my expectations were, like, way on the floor. And I do think it's interesting that he barely touched on it. It was right after. I should have let the video play, like, 15 seconds more, because I really thought those 15 seconds about the mandate were important. He mentioned there that doing a mandate would have created opposition. Like, I don't remember his exact words. He barely touched on it. But, like, thank goodness that there's people in government right now that know that there's a limit, like a practical limit to authority. That where you start exercising the authority in certain ways and it becomes counterproductive. Like, yes. He acknowledged that that's a reality. And I have not seen, even the people like DeSantis and Noem up in South Dakota.
Yeah.
They have not articulated that very well. Like, even they have not articulated that particular concept. They just think they are right about not closing things down, not allowing there to be not allowing businesses to turn people away from masks and stuff like that. That's actually a thing in Florida. But, like, that hasn't been articulated from any of these governors or anybody at the federal level, that there's a certain amount of authority that once you exercise it, you start becoming counterproductive, and it would create opposition to what you're doing. So I felt like that he was being very wise to say, hey, look, this is what I heard. This is what I heard, Grant. All these important people and rich people and international people are blowing my phone up, and they're telling me I have to do something. They want me to basically lock you in your homes and send police around to patrol and make sure you're in there. That's what they want. That's what all these rich people all over the world and all over the country, that's what they want me to do. But I know, because I'm the governor, I know because y'all voted for me, I know that would just not go over well. It wouldn't produce the desired result. A lot of y'all wouldn't do it anyway, and we don't have the resources to make you. So with me sitting in front of this Christmas tree, I'm just asking you before so to make some of these phone calls stop. So Bill Frist and what's the former governor's name? Bill Haslam and all these, and,
right?
Yeah, and all these, and Al Gore and everybody else who's ever been involved in U.S. or Tennessee government stops calling me. All these business leaders who have 1,500 people in their factories and stuff, they stop calling me. I'm just asking you for Christmas. Let's try not to make big gatherings. Let's try not. I thought it was all like, this is a guy who's at the high water mark. And after this, I'll shut up because I've been going for a minute. But this is a guy who, if at any point he was going to bend to pressure and collapse and just say, okay, smart people, we'll just do whatever you think. If at any point Bill Lee was going to collapse and just roll over to anybody, to the experts, right, it would have been last night. And he may not have done it perfectly. And everybody may be upset now, but they're a lot less upset than if he'd blatantly said, we don't need a mask mandate, everything's fine, or if he'd been like, you're all locked down. I think it was better than either of those two options, Grant. I think it was better than going, see, he wasn't no more DeSantis, and he wasn't the governor of New York or the governor of California. It was a nice middle ground, and it's also a good example for other states that are having similar problems. Rural states where they don't have this bombastic Trump-like governor, but they also want to like keep their economy alive. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Sorry it was kind of long there, but...
Zig, where are you coming out from this, man? After we get Zig's take, I'll get into some more of the China-related spin on some of this stuff too. But Zig, I don't know, man. How are you guys dealing with this in Pennsylvania?
I'm interested to know how governors anywhere are handling airports. I know people who have been to airports. I know people who have observed airports, and I don't think social distancing was ever strictly enforced in airports. At all, at any time. So I think everyone is missing the mark if you have all these wealthy people traveling all over the place, people who are likely to intermingle, and they're doing it in airports, and the mandates and the social distancing really are not enforced there. I think all the solutions miss the mark when we overlook that simple fact. Go to an airport, see if there is social distancing really going on in the airport. From what I understand, that's not strict enough. It's not strictly enforced. So I think before anybody goes anywhere or talks about doing a mask mandate or closing these places down, there needs to be people at the airport enforcing social distancing. And I don't think it's ever happened. And that's where the source of the spread coincidentally happened to start. In Pennsylvania, it was all in Philadelphia. Why? Because they have a major airport there. In Pittsburgh. Why? Because they have a major airport there. And did the airports ever enforce strict social distancing? I would bet they didn't. I would bet they didn't. So the whole thing is asinine. And none of it matters until somebody looks into the airports.
Hey, look, at this point, if we haven't seemingly been offensive enough to whoever on this program, let me just go one step further. Because again, the title of the program is, can we talk about China? And at this point, we've just been talking about the governor's mandate, or the governor's new executive order. And how does that fit into this China thing in the last 10 minutes we have of this program? We need about another half an hour to another full hour to even do any sense of justice to the rest of this China-related story. But some of this I just need to get off my chest right now. I think having COVID over the last week has kind of given me this new perspective of, I don't know, man, can we just talk real? I'm just done. I'm done playing this patty cake game. All right, I'm done sugarcoating stuff at this point. Can we all just pause for a second to mention yet one more time that there's a very specific part of the world that needs to be held accountable for this specific virus? China. It's them. It's that country. Look in the show notes. It's the CCP. This is not the first time this country has been responsible for a wide-scale pandemic due to its atrocious regulations, primarily within their wet markets. And you don't have to take my word for this. Take Vox and Vice's word for this if you want to. I've linked 2 great YouTube videos specifically both addressing these concerns and these issues. SARS, bird flu, avian flu, coronavirus, all linked to Chinese-based wet markets. If you don't know what a wet market is, go look at the YouTube videos if you want to. But wet markets are basically what they sound like. They're just live open markets. They sell a lot of vegetables and a lot of live animals. And the problem with these live animals is they stack them on cages on top of each other. And they will take the slaughtered carcass of a single animal and just let everything that would come from a slaughtered carcass literally just filter down to the animals below it, and then you slaughter those carcasses and so on and so forth. So all this stuff commingles and mixes together, and by the time you get to whatever animals on the bottom of that market, it has everything else that was on the top of it as well.
Well, and it's not just that, Grant. A lot of those animals are coming from the wild, and
Yes.
they are actually not farm raised or domesticated. So that's the fundamental problem, and it's interesting because you have people complain, oh, there's big farming here that just basically grows meat, and it's like, yeah, because that stops the creation of all these wild viruses. If you just let these things run wild like bats, you'll get sick from that.
Yeah, and
non-domesticated animals will make you sick.
This is part of the reason why I can never call myself a full-on anarchist, because in this sense, we're talking about normally a libertarian-leaning guy would not like government regulations, but in this sense, what are we talking about? What is going on here? And this isn't the first thing that we're going to have a problem. The last thing we're going to have a problem with. Look under the national story sections. All right, this is eventually getting into the problem with China right now, going on with Eric Swalwell, which very few people are even talking about. But before we get to that, let me just bring your quick attention to this Bloomberg article. Has China mastered weather modification? This is for real, by the way. This is not like an Alex Jones. This is a story that used to be an Alex Jones conspiracy theory until everybody stumbles upon the realization that I'm not joking. 80 to 90% of the time, Alex Jones is completely correct with what he's talking about. It's that weird 10% that everybody focuses on. And that might even be a little bit too far. Maybe it's 95% of the time that Alex Jones is correct, and the other 5% is everybody what hyper focuses on Alex Jones. The hyper focus of when he takes liberties to speculate based upon the 95% that he is correct about. Here, Bloomberg. He says that, not him. Bloomberg right now. I'll pull this up right now. We'll share this screen. Hang on 2 seconds here. Has China mastered weather modification? If so, should we worry? Using rockets and pickup trucks, Chinese officials are seeding clouds and bringing rain. But do they have other uses in mind? This is a real headline. This is not real news, fake news right now. This is a for real on headline. Here's the story. Humans have dreamed of controlling the weather for a millennia. But it wasn't until 1946 that scientists at GE, General Electric, discovered that dry ice can create precipitation when it interacts with clouds under certain conditions. By 1953, roughly 10% of land area in the U.S. had been targeted for cloud seeding. 12 years later, the government was spending millions of dollars on weather modification research each year, and 15 other companies had started cloud seeding operations in 23 states. This is like the 60s and 70s we're talking about. It just wasn't rainfall either. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. military weaponized cloud seeding to inhibit enemy troop movements and reduce the effectiveness of anti-aircraft attacks, among other things. This isn't during the Vietnam War. These uses so alarmed policymakers that they began seeking international agreement to end environmental warfare, quote unquote. The 1978, quote, Convention on Prohibition of Military and Any Other Hostile Use of Environmental Modification went into effect. This is something that China ended up signing in 2005. Now, why did China actually sign on to this in 2005? I don't know, because of international pressure. It doesn't matter. They're not doing anything about it anyways, because in the last 16 months, artificial rain enhancement rockets were launched off the back of pickup trucks 300 miles south of Beijing. The operation ordered up by their meteorological bureau in response to the local drought. Over the next 24 hours, the county received more than 2 inches of rain. Remember when China held those Olympics last time? They shot over 1,200 rain-producing or suppressing rockets into the sky the night before the Olympics went off to make sure that there was no rain during the Olympic opening ceremony. This is wild stuff, right? And despite of the fact that China has signed on to an agreement like this, nonetheless, the government claimed a great success in 2008 when Beijing launched, like I said, 1,200 allegedly rain-suppressing rockets to ensure that their opening ceremonies were dry, completely rain-free. By 2015, there were rain-making and hail-suppressing programs in 30 Chinese provinces, employing some 35,000 people. So yet one more time, I talk and I ask the question of, all right, are we not going to talk about this China situation? Is nobody going to talk about this China situation? Is nobody going to talk about how problematic everything that country does and how we all have to pick up the pieces for it? And there's so much money passing around the tables. There's so much influence going on everywhere. We are quite literally shackled by that country currently. Part of the problem that happened with coronavirus is that we still can't get a decent lead on the who, what, when, where, why of any of it, because any independent investigation has been completely shut down by the WHO. Don't take my word for it. Go look that up for stuff for yourself if you want to. And it's not just with science-related things, man. It's everything that's going on with this country. Again, if you don't understand why you should have a problem with a communist-controlled country, just look at the fact that for 20-plus years now, there have been communist, Holocaust-style re-education camps going on within that country's walls, and we do nothing about it. Nobody does anything about it. There are organ harvesting facilities over there. There was a story coming out of China just a few years ago about how they flew a Chinese national in that needed a heart transplant surgery. They flew her in from Japan. And because of the great country that China is, they were able to try 3 times and get this lady a heart that was compatible. Like, what did you just admit to? What did you just admit to?
You just admitted you got a basement full of slaves. You can pull hearts out anytime you want because you can't keep hearts on ice. They have to be fresh.
That's exactly what you admitted to. There's a place that does nothing but kidney surgeries, kidney transplant surgeries. And they literally make the claim at this place that as long as you were part of the state-run whatever and you were actually able to get this surgery, which is very few people, but if you were able to get this surgery, they will continually try to find you a kidney that works in your body until they get it correct. You don't just have kidneys on tap waiting around all the time. And we literally have 60 seconds till we got to get off here. The point I'm bringing, though, is ending on this Eric Swalwell story. We may have to pick this up later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning's program. Because the amount of influence, that influence that I'm just talking about. Suicide vans driving around. Organ harvesting vans just driving around. Re-education camps. This communist influence has now seeped its little tentacles into America like we've never seen before in this country. And Eric Swalwell is just the tip of that iceberg. Unfortunately, we do have to sign up this morning. We'll be talking more about China the rest of this week, maybe even later on today. I love each and every one of y'all sincerely, honestly. Thank you so much for the support all this last week, for real. For David Sean Thompson, Zig, my boy Zig, Real News, Real Friends, we're signing off. We'll see y'all later. Peace.